What is up, my fellow astronauts? I want to share with you a little secret about something that's even more important than sleep. We know that sleep's important, we know that sleep quality is important, but this thing is even more important than sleep loss or disrupted sleep. Let me show you. So we know that testosterone increases during sleep. Here are roughly around 10 or 11 testosterone starts to increase, and it peaks around, let's say, 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock, right? It starts to peak and then it remains high until you wake up. So if your sleeping is interrupted or it's short, you will not get this big spike in testosterone. Also, free testosterone correlates with sleep duration, and the highest level of free testosterone is recorded around 8 to 10 hours of sleep. And if you sleep more than 10 hours, free testosterone starts to decline again. So it seems like the sweet spot is between 8 or 10 hours of sleep for increasing free testosterone. Now, sleep loss does lower your testosterone, but not by that much. You can see here, this is the normal sleep group, and this is their testosterone during the day, versus the group that slept less. They did have a slight decrease in testosterone, but it was really not that much, right? Sleep loss does lower it, but it's not really that much. Here is another study showing that when you do sleep loss, here you can see their testosterone was actually going up here later in the day. This is kind of like confirmed here, is that when you do sleep restriction or sleep disturbances or sleep loss, you don't really get that drop at the end of the day or the increase during the night. It more or less flatlines. So you have this flatline level of testosterone that doesn't peak throughout the night. This is what happens with sleep disturbance. But what you can see is that it doesn't really drop all that massively compared to like regular levels. Yes, it might decrease by 10 to 20%, but I want to show you something that's even worse later on. And so this, again, sleep loss on testosterone. This was a partial sleep restriction. This was their testosterone levels compared to the regular group. And here was the cortisol, also more or less the same. Like it wasn't really going up. And so you can see it is lower for sure, but it's not that big of a difference. All right, so worse than sleep loss is sleep apnea. It's significantly worse than just sleeping less. And so sleep apnea versus no sleep apnea. Both groups were obese individuals, but this group had sleep apnea, this group not. And you can see their testosterone. These people had 350 nanograms per deciliter. These people had 280 nanograms per deciliter. Estradiol was 30 in the non-sleep apnea group, and then it was 38 in the sleep apnea group. So not only do you have lower levels of testosterone, also higher levels of estradiol, putting you in a very non-androgenic, more estrogenic state that then also contributes to erectile dysfunction, mood disorders, body composition issues, those kind of stuff. And then also the testosterone, drop in testosterone correlates with the intensity of sleep apnea. So in these people, the control group without sleep apnea, their testosterone was about 19 nanograms per deciliter. The mild sleep apnea, they had a testosterone level of 8. So they already had very low levels, much lower. But you can see like the BMI of the control group, they were lean. The BMI group of the mild obese, the mild obstructive sleep apnea group were already like close to 30. So these people were already overweight. So this is why their testosterone was likely around 8. And so this was mild sleep apnea was 8, moderate sleep apnea was like 6, and then severe sleep apnea was 5.7. So the more severe sleep apnea is, the lower testosterone drops. And you can see estrogen doesn't really drop. It stays around 130. So again, like estrogen remains the same, testosterone drops, really altering the testosterone to estrogen ratio, making you more estrogenic in the process. So how to improve sleep apnea? Here's just a bunch of generic sleep apnea advice, because I know nothing about you. I don't know what to eat. I don't know anything about your lifestyle, those kind of stuff. So I can only give you some generic advice to things that you can do. First one is obviously use a CPAP. This is obviously not the best advice. You do not necessarily want to use a CPAP, but using a CPAP has been shown to increase testosterone and improve erectile function. So as you improve every other thing, right, use a CPAP in the meantime. Lose excess weight. BMI is one of the strongest correlators with sleep apnea, and I know there's also lean individuals with sleep apnea, but most people with sleep apnea, they are overweight. Optimize your androgens. Low androgens can also correlate with sleep apnea. Improve your insulin sensitivity. Avoid hard to digest foods that gives you digestive upset. If you don't have solid bowel movements and close to a ghost wipe, there is some room for improvement. Then sleep on your side instead of on your back. Avoid excessive alcohol consumption because that can also relax the airway and contribute to sleep apnea. Use magnesium. So there you have it. You can self-diagnose to see if you have sleep apnea. There is an app that you can download on your phone that will help to tell you, or your wife can just tell you, your partner can tell you, or you can go into a sleep lab so that they can analyze you and to see if you have sleep apnea. But you need to address this ASAP. It contributes to inflammation in the body, insulin resistance, weight gain, erectile dysfunction, low testosterone. Sleep apnea is really a bad thing, and it's much worse than sleep loss. Obviously, you want to maximize your sleep on all aspects, but really focus on improving your sleep apnea. If you have some very helpful tips for improving sleep apnea, please leave that in the comments. I would love to hear from you guys, and I will check you in the next one. Cheers, guys.